Holy Gospel according to John. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." The Gospel of the Lord. Yesterday morning, as I sat down to write this sermon, I was listening to a classical station in WPR, and they were playing an arrangement of the song "Going Home" by Antonin Dvorak, sung by the great baritone Bryn Tervel. Going home, I'm just going home. It's not that far, just close by, through an open door. It's a beautiful song and a beautiful image on a day when the lessons are full of images. And images may be the best that we can do on this All Saints Sunday as we talk about things that we do not yet know by experience. On this All Saints Sunday, we remember those who have gone before us. We remember them by name, those who have walked through the open door. And as we do that, I know that we have mixed emotions: sadness and grief and longing. And I wonder if joy is possible. Can there be joy as we observe this day that is so steeped in death? And I want to just acknowledge that I know that for some of you here this morning, this day is hard. And for some of us, the pain of loss is still so raw. Earlier this week, I mentioned to someone that their loved one would be remembered by name today. And in a single moment, all that grief and sadness came rushing back, and tears came rushing forth. And so, yes, there is sadness, and likely, for some of us this morning, tears will be a sign of that sadness. But I also think that there really can be a sense of joy. Even if it's muted, maybe not the jump up and down kind of joy, but a joy that is tied to peace and hope and delight at God's promises being fulfilled for those of us whom we love, who have now walked on. The scriptures, and certainly our lessons this morning, paint a picture of that paradise where our loved ones now live with God. The Isaiah passage, this is just one of my favorites, and we read it often on Easter Sunday morning. And here we see an image of extraordinary abundance at the heavenly banquet table. Isaiah tells this story and paints this picture of the saints sitting down at this endless table with an endless feast, rich foods and abundant wine that drink that evokes gladness and fellowship and deep relationship. And in the Revelation, we don't get a physical description of paradise, and rather we get a relational description. Now, isn't that interesting? Wherever our loved ones are, the most important thing is that they are with God. They are living with God. The all-powerful, eternal, loving, gracious Creator of all things has invited them into God's dwelling place as God's beloved children, there to dwell in God's presence forever. And elsewhere, the Scriptures describe that relationship and that presence is so full of light that there is no need for sun or stars or moon or any kind of lights, because the light coming from God's face is enough to light up the whole place. And in that divine and loving presence, all of those things that in this life have caused sadness and heartache and trouble and stress and pressure and pain and longing, they're all gone. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, John writes. And did you happen to notice the one commonality between Isaiah and the Revelation of John? They both say this unequivocally and confidently. Death will be abolished. No more dying. No more dying there. We are going to see the King. No more dying there. We are going to see the King. No more dying there. We are going to see the King. Alleluia, alleluia. We're going to see the King. Listen, that thing which we humans almost universally dread and fear is going to be abolished, obliterated, destroyed forever. So yes, we can live with a certain joy on this All Saints Sunday, knowing that those we miss so very much, so very deeply, and at times so tearfully, are enjoying a closer relationship with God and with the other saints than we can ever imagine. And there's more. There's also a promise for us. And that's why we read the gospel lesson. Because you see, the gospel lesson tells a story that gives us a glimpse of what God in Christ has set out to do for us and for the world. The pain of the death of others is so visceral. It is no wonder that Mary lashes out at Jesus and accuses him of failing her in her very hour of need. The pain is so real and so intense that even Jesus himself feels it, and he weeps. I have known those times in my life where it felt like Jesus was absent. And maybe you have too. And it often seems that in the Gospel of John, Jesus is a bit aloof, and he's a bit distant from the goings-on of people's lives. Remember at Cana, how he seemed annoyed when that he should be called on to provide wine for the party? And here in this story, Jesus inexplicably dawdles for days, leaving a sick friend in need. And in his delay, that friend dies. And yet, despite all that, Jesus cannot escape the intimacy and the immediacy of this moment. He feels the pain of his friend's death. But Jesus will not allow the pain of death to be the end of the story. Instead, Jesus cries out into that tomb, "Lazarus, come out!" And to everybody's great surprise, the dead man comes out of the grave, momentarily slipping from the cold, cruel grasp of death. And this, dear church, is exactly what Jesus came into the world to do, to speak and enact a word of life in the face of death. In fact, he came to neutralize the power of death as the power of evil over all of the human family. This is the word that is proclaimed today to us and to all creation. This is what his death and resurrection is all about. A bold and ostentatious shout down of death. And this is the grace that embraces all of us and gives us a new identity. You have been sealed by the Holy Spirit and marked with the cross of Christ forever. And it gives us a new future. So the death is just walking through the open door. One of our bishops tells a story of how one time when he was waiting to board a plane, there was a little girl dancing around in the aisles with sheer delight. So he said to the little girl, "You look very happy. Where are you going?" She replied with an ear-to-ear smile and a balanced her step, "I'm going to Grandma's." So he asked her again, "No, where are you going?" And again she replied, "I'm going to Grandma's." He tried once again, hoping to discover if she had gone to North Dakota or Minneapolis or Texas or Chicago. "Where are you going?" And once again she insisted with a bit of frustration at this obtuse adult, "I'm going to Grandma's." See, to this little girl, the geography and location was absolutely irrelevant. What was important to her was being with Grandma. And that is the essence of this All Saints Sunday. Our loved ones are with God. And we too are going to God's.